The legalization of recreational drugs is a highly contentious and polarizing issue that has sparked intense debates worldwide. Proponents argue that legalizing drugs would bring various benefits, such as reduced crime rates, increased tax revenues, and improved public health outcomes. On the other hand, opponents believe that legalization would lead to a surge in addiction rates, societal chaos, and a decline in overall public safety. Advocates for drug legalization argue that it would cripple the illegal drug trade and its associated violence. By eliminating the black market, they believe that drug-related crimes and gang activities would decrease significantly. Legalization could also address the issue of drug purity and quality control, reducing the risks associated with contaminated substances. In addition, the regulation and taxation of drugs could generate significant revenue for governments to invest in education, healthcare, and drug rehabilitation programs. Opponents of drug legalization express concerns about the potential consequences it could have on public health. They argue that making recreational drugs more accessible would lead to an increase in addiction rates, particularly among vulnerable populations, such as teenagers. They fear that legalizing drugs would normalize their use, making it harder to prevent and treat addiction. Critics also warn of the negative impact on workplace productivity, citing potential safety hazards and impaired performance caused by drug use. Another argument against drug legalization centers around the societal consequences it might entail. Detractors fear that an increase in drug availability could lead to a rise in crime rates and social upheaval. They argue that drug-related violence and antisocial behavior would jeopardize community safety and stability. Some opponents also raise concerns about the potential gateway effect, suggesting that legalizing recreational drugs could serve as a stepping stone towards study, acceptance, and normalization of harder substances. Furthermore, the issue of personal liberty is often at the heart of the drug legalization debate. Advocates argue that individuals should have the freedom to make choices regarding their own bodies and lifestyles, as long as they don't harm others. They believe that criminalization infringes upon personal rights and unnecessarily burdens the criminal justice system. By removing legal barriers, they contend that drug use can be managed more effectively through harm reduction strategies and public health initiatives. However, opponents argue that drug legalization would have severe consequences, not only on individuals, but also on society as a whole. They contend that the potential harms, including addiction, family breakdowns, and increased healthcare costs, outweigh the arguments for personal liberty. They believe that society has a responsibility to discourage drug use and protect vulnerable members from the risks associated with substance abuse. Critics also raise concerns about the impact of legalization on public perception, arguing that it could normalize and desensitize the dangers of recreational drug use. The debate over the legalization of recreational drugs is one that elicits strong emotions and fierce arguments from both sides. While proponents highlight potential benefits including reduced crime rates, increased tax revenues, and improved public health outcomes, opponents express concern about addiction rates, social chaos, and declining safety. The decision to legalize or maintain prohibition rests upon a careful consideration of the potential impacts on public health, personal liberty, and societal well-being. It is a contentious issue that requires an ongoing dialogue and evidence-based analysis to navigate the complexities and find a balanced approach.